Welcome to the Nerd Citadel, the Star Wars spoiler review.
Spoilers, it's a Star War.
It's been about 2 weeks since Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker came out. So as Nick eats his dinner, we'll begin to discuss in-depth spoilers of The Rise of Skywalker.
Get to the pleasure zone, baby.
Spoiler, Chris hated it.
I didn't hate it. I think
Compared to me and Nicky did.
compared to you guys, I hated it. Compared to the Star Wars community as a whole, I'm like, definitely not my favorite. Not my least favorite, but not my favorite either. I think it is a thoroughly entertaining movie with a large amount of glaring issues that pulled me out of the experience.
Is that sashimi or is that ginger?
This is a giant piece of white tuna.
Okay. This, as anybody who is in any way familiar with Star Wars should know, was the complete summation, supposedly, of the Skywalker saga. And as well as being the summation of the sequel trilogy. So this concluded the overall arcing story that began with the Force Awakens, where we discover a new orphan.
Yeah, a new orphan.
Because every sequel starts with, well, I guess Anakin's not really an orphan when it starts, but
Every trilogy starts with a fatherless.
Yeah.
there you go.
Another child whose dad is dead or a robot.
Or spoilers, whose grandfather's just the most evil man in the universe.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. I've had time to let that one stew.
But
But yes, this trilogy centers around Rey. I mean, I guess this is going to be our review of the Rise of Starman, as well as just kind of like thoughts on the sequel trilogy. As I know who he is. Jeez, live long and prosper. I get it. I guess it also helps to talk a little bit about the sequel trilogy as a whole, too. Just kind of how we got to this point.
yeah,
So, with The Force Awakens, we're introduced to Rey, Kylo Ren, and a handful of other characters whose arcs kind of end in the first film, and then they're just there the rest of the trilogy. Which I think is a little bit of a misstep, but I get it. They wanted to concentrate on the main good guy, main bad guy.
Well, this really isn't a trilogy so much as a duo with an intermission.
Well, you know what the trilogy was? It's what I call a not trilogy. It's sold as a trilogy, but it felt more like both a checklist and a what do we do next? I don't know. Throw a dart at the idea board. That's what we're doing now.
You gotta get force healing in there somewhere.
Got to get force healing in there somewhere. Okay. At this point in all of the lore, some things need a little introduction. No, they don't.
But
She's just gonna do it.
But why don't we start with just a quick 5-minute review of the first two movies. So, The Force Awakens starts with Rey, and then you have Finn.
Technically, it starts with Poe.
I'm not.
It starts with Poe and the Three-Eyed Raven.
I'm going with the story, not scene for scene.
All right.
So
fine.
we start with Rey, the orphan, the Luke Skywalker of the sequel trilogy.
Oh, we don't want to say that, but I get what you're saying.
Poe Dameron, the new Han Solo.
Time out!
Well, no, just Let me run.
He's not in the movie enough to be Han Solo.
Well,
He's
no,
not in any of them enough to be Han Solo.
No, but that's what they were going for. They even reveal in the last movie that he was running spices.
Okay, fine, whatever.
And then we have the only truly original character to this series,
Finn.
Because we never before have we developed a stormtrooper beyond their bad shooting and death cry.
Yes.
So then we established that the Sith are no more, but there's a new, very Sith-ish group, the Knights of Ren, and a very Darth Vader-ish character in Kylo Ren, who's actually the grandson of Darth Vader and has a lot of daddy issues, eventually kills his daddy. We have Snoke, who's the makeshift emperor.
Yes.
In more than one way. And I'm pretty sure that's the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, the movie's a big homage to the original, to the original Star Wars. But I feel like it's both an homage and it kind of does its own thing. But, you know, when you see a name like J.J. Abrams on something, J.J. has this really good ability to adapt tropes and other materials into reboots, sequels, remakes, whatever. So I kind of like knew that's what we were getting into, and I was pleasantly surprised. The Force Awakens is pretty much everything my child brain imagined the original trilogy to be like. Like, whenever I would imagine, Han Solo's flying the Millennium Falcon and doing cool stuff, we actually get to see other characters or Han flying the Millennium Falcon like that. So I like that movie quite a bit.
Yeah, and you get a bunch of little nods like Chewie, we're home, and...
Yeah, the fan service was there, but it was also workable, because I also saw the movie as a palate cleanser, since the prequel trilogy was not very well received.
Well, and it had been so long since the Star Wars movie that all they really had to go for was, let's just give the audience,
let's give them what they want.
Star Wars again.
Yeah, so
there wasn't a high bar.
There really wasn't. It was just do a good job. Just do a good job, and the movie knocked it out of the park. I know everyone likes to talk about, that movie was garbage. No, we were all there opening weekend. Everyone loved this movie.
Yeah, but answer this question: The Force Awakens, had it been a original IP and not Star Wars, would have you liked it?
Probably not. And that hinges on the fact that a lot of this movie's appeal relies on the collective audience's prior knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it does a good job at introducing the new characters and introducing the old ones as who they are now. Each character got their introduction and the start or completion of their arc. Start to completion of their arc.
Right. But had it been, because the way it's structured, even with everything that was already established, that we already knew, the history of all the characters that were in it, Star Wars Episode 4 was laid out exactly the same way. So you really could have just as easily been the first movie.
It could have. I think one of the things that helps the first movie that doesn't so much help it in this one, just the different time periods. You also got to take audience context, the time period that these movies are coming out. But it's in the title crawl. Because in the original trilogy, where they had nothing, no prior knowledge, audience were going into these three movies pretty much completely blind. Even if they were going one after the other, all they knew were a couple character names.
Mm-hmm. So Nick, same question. if Force Awakens was
If it was a first, if it was a first, I still would have enjoyed it. Probably just as much. Probably more than
your band. No, I'm good. I might have enjoyed it. I don't really know. It's hard for me to say. But I think it definitely would have came across much easier without all the nostalgia.
Yeah, I think we would have viewed it like the way most people now view the movie Avatar. Well, that movie was really pretty to look at. Can't really tell you what the hell happened in it.
I can.
Well, you know what it's
Ferngully.
It's Ferngully. But again, that relies on audience.
It's Ferngully plus Smurfs plus cats.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have done as well because whereas in the original Star Wars, the title crawl is pretty short and concise and just kind of lays out the bare minimum knowledge you need to go in this. It's a period of turmoil. There's a galactic empire that's ruling with an iron fist, and there is a group of rebels fighting them. And then it goes, that's all you need to know. Boom, you're dropped right into that world. Mm-hmm. With The Force Awakens, and this is definitely an issue I think all three have, is that they don't rely on their own contained narrative to set the world. This one starts off, I'm pretty sure the first line of The Force Awakens title crawl is, Luke Skywalker has vanished. Mm-hmm. So, right there, they kind of shot themselves in the foot by saying, you need to have seen the old ones to even know who this is.
Yeah. Well, we're well over 5 minutes on The Force Awakens, so Nick takes in the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, we're not going to talk about The Last Jedi?
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Take us into The Last Jedi.
You can't just throw the attention at me and expect me to take over like that, Chris.
All right,
you need some screen time, so you take us into Rise of Skywalker. Take a second to think about it. Chris can cut out the silence or put something amusing.
Picking up my blaster, putting it on my sign. I'm jumping in my falcon, whooping at my side. I'm solo, I'm Han Solo, I'm Han Solo, I'm Han Solo, solo.
I'm taking over now. The Last Jedi, here's what happens in that movie. It's pretty much a 2-hour-long chase sequence. The Resistance is being hunted down by the First Order for some reason, even though we blew up their main base in the immediate prior movie. But we'll get into that at other times. Resistance is being hunted down by the First Order. Jet fuel can't melt spaceships. Is introduced in this movie, 8 movies into the mainline Star Wars story. Rey trains with a reluctant Luke.
Crabby old Luke.
Yeah, a reluctant...
Blue milk dribbling down his chin.
Yes.
That was kind of odd when he drank that milk. He went...
Oh, even Mark Hamill knew that tasted like garbage. That wasn't even acting. He was just like, I can't believe I drank this. I was the Joker, damn it. Finn and Rey go on a video game side quest to go get doubloons or something.
Really? A video game side quest? I thought it was more of a PETA infomercial thrown in the middle of the movie.
There's a horse race. Rey turns herself in, basically, to Kylo Ren, thinking she can change him. And he's like, nope. And then he bodies Snoke. Right after Snoke, this movie, I feel like they shouldn't have killed Snoke. I get why they did, but they shouldn't have. Anyway, Rey gets Luke's lightsaber frigging explodes in a Force tug of war. And apparently, I think I missed this, but apparently there is a scene of her having the two halves. So she gets that and goes to Salt Planet, and the First Order starts attacking with really awesome AT-AT style walkers. Luke...
laser battering ram.
Yeah, a laser battering ram that... I got something I gotta say about that scene in just a moment. But Luke force projects himself. He force photoshops himself into the scene. Says goodbye to Leia. Gives her Han's dice.
Which apparently
wasn't
we
really there.
found that out earlier in the movie. They, for some reason, if you're force Skyping with somebody, you can also give them objects from your location.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Force transference. Duh. It's a thing.
Well, then why couldn't Luke just force transfer himself?
Because they wanted
much more.
Because they wanted to kill him off. I don't know.
Wait, but if you can force transfer, how is it that Rey and Kylo were able to force transfer stuff in, what was it, Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah.
But when Luke was projecting himself onto the planet,
Rise of the Boy.
He couldn't.
The child.
He couldn't force transfer the actual dice. Like, they disappeared once he disappeared. It was just another projecting it. But it had, like, force mass.
Again, I feel like a lot of what happened in these movies were people just making it up as they went. But, okay, back on track. Luke force photoshops himself into the planet Crate to pretty much, like, try to reconcile-ish with Kylo Ren, but it doesn't work. So he just uses Kylo's anger to distract him while everyone else escapes. And then Luke dies from having overdosed on the Force. And that's how that movie ends. I think there are actually some things I do like about that movie.
You forgot a really important scene.
Which one?
Mary Poppins in space.
Oh, good Lord. That could have... I know what they were going for. We all know what they were going for. But the execution of that scene was laughable. That was supposed to be like... Leia's like a Disney princess in space right now. It was... My entire theater was a split between people going, what?
One thing could have really fixed that, though. If they... You know the scene in Rise of Skywalker where they reveal that that Princess Leia was a trained Jedi?
If they had shown that at some point else.
They did hint to it earlier on, though.
When?
Yeah, but they never say, like, she had a lightsaber, she's a Jedi Master.
Okay.
They didn't get into all that, but they did hint at her having Jedi training.
Yeah, but not to the extent that we discover in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, because Rise of Skywalker basically says, like, she was this close to completing that training and backed out. And then bad things happened anyway, so her visions lied to her about as much as Anakin's. They aren't good with premonition. So yeah, Leia Mary Poppins as herself in space, which, like you said, if we had gotten a little more information, again coming down to they were making this shit up as they went, then it would have made a little more sense. But there are a couple of themes and things in that movie that I enjoy. I enjoy the idea that everyone goes through a personal failure in that. And much like The Empire Strikes Back, this is everyone hitting their collective low point. So now they all have to rise out of that. They have to Return of the Jedi out of that. So I like that. I also like how at the very end you see the little kids and like they're sharing, like they're like, oh man, I heard this awesome story about Luke Skywalker. Yeah, he's real. He's not just a myth. He's real.
And then the kid at the end,
Oh, I don't care. No, that bothered me. I didn't. Well, actually, no, it didn't bother me. I thought it was a little goofy looking.
No, I liked that because it showed us that the universe is bigger than them.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like. Okay, yeah, I'll take it back. I'll say I actually kind of liked it. I think maybe the way it was just a little. I don't know. There was something about that scene that rubbed me the wrong way. I do like the idea. Episode 7 and 8 made the Force mystical again. Made it so that the Force tries to balance itself. It rises in people.
But what bothered me about that scene was that they kind of introduced this like little thing that you thought was going to be bigger, but they do not revisit it in 9. As far as I remember.
We will get back to that. Now, which thing are you talking about?
Like the whole kids having like you think this.
Well, the focus of that scene isn't on the kids. It's about people everywhere, the disenfranchised, being given hope by this, by the story of Luke Skywalker, by the legend of Luke Skywalker. The thing he was running from, his whole arc in this movie, is the thing that he accepts in the end, and it inspires people all over the galaxy. And as much as I don't like that movie at all, I'm like, that is some hard-hitting, powerful stuff.
But like hope could be portrayed in any way. They portrayed it as like these
the Force.
The Force. This kid using the Force, and you immediately think in your head that this is going to become something else. That never becomes.
Well, but you're talking. We only had one movie since then, Nick.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was about it. Like Chris said, it wasn't about the kid. It was about
the message.
I felt like it was.
Well, I didn't even think it was about the message. I thought it was about the message, but a different message. I thought it was just about there are other stories going on in this universe that we may or may not visit in the future. But just to know that there's a world that we're not seeing that's still going on.
Okay, I get that. And I definitely see both sides of it. I definitely see both sides of your argument. And I just think, in the simplest terms, Rian Johnson wanted to have a cool scene that conveyed a message of hope. Now, as we are about to go into the next film, we're going to see how that doesn't happen. Nick, take us into Star Wars Episode 9.
So, Episode 9, I said in the last video, I really liked. Now that I think back at it, there was so much happening in the first act. Like, so many jumps between scene to scene, or
there's so much happening in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, like, I don't even remember it now. It was just that much that quick that it just slips.
It was Kylo's quest for the Infinity Stones.
and there I get to, and that takes me to like the second thing that I'm not too fond of in this movie.
Well, let's get to that in a minute, but let's let Nick run with it.
Run with it. Talk to us.
So, yeah, just so much happening, and I gotta be honest, when they took Chewie out, or supposedly took Chewie out, that really hit me. That brought me back into the movie. That I feel like, what was that, halfway in?
Well, but remember that we're reviewing this movie, so you might want to start a little earlier.
But so much happened in the first half that it's just not there.
Okay, Kylo Ren, in the first 3 minutes, bodies a bunch of people in an admittedly awesome scene. Finds a Borg cube. Drives through...
The Wayfinder.
Yeah, the Sith Wayfinder. Drives through space catch-up to the lightning planes from Final Fantasy X, I think they were. And then finds Ian McDiarmid happened to be chilling on set. He finds Snoke, not Snoke. Well, he finds a bunch of Snokes. He finds the Emperor, who is still alive, off screen, or who has come back to life off screen. And Emperor has a bunch of tubes with Snoke's in them, which kind of made me like want to laugh a little bit because I think it was a silly that was a silly moment. But then the Emperor rises a bunch of Star Destroyers out of the ice, like hundreds of them. I mean,
completely fills the sky.
Completely fills the sky. God knows how he was able to hire the people to man these. But hey,
well, we saw he had like 10,000 Sith that we never knew existed.
Yeah. That is.
But here's my number one question about, and I'm glad that Palpatine was brought back into this movie so early, because I was really, really concerned that with all the teasing, we were going to get like the last like 5 minutes of the movie with Palpatine. So I'm glad that this movie was just all full of Palpatine.
In a way.
But the question though, was the Emperor that we saw the one that supposedly fell to his death? Or was he a clone himself?
No, he had to be the one that fell to his death because he had the damage done to him that happened when Samuel Jackson's lightsaber...
Mace Windu.
Yeah, Mace Windu.
When Mace Windu got him all pruny.
Yeah. He was all pruny from that.
Yeah, but all the clones were all pruny too.
The Snokes?
The Snokes. The Snokes were failed clones of Darth Sidious, were they not?
That way. But he looks exactly like he did when Samuel Jackson, Mace Windu.
Yeah, but is that just because he was just the most, quote-unquote, perfect of the clones?
Or maybe he's the original and Return of the Jedi Palpatine was the clone. Who knows?
Damn it, Chris. Don't make this more complicated than it has to be.
Disney store Kathleen Kennedy made this stuff more complicated than it has to be. Jesus.
But
then we get to Rey being trained by Leia.
Wait, I want to go back to the title crawl since that's where it all started. What I really wanted to see, not in the title crawl but taken out, was the broadcast that Palpatine made to
let the entire galaxy know that he's back.
I would have loved to see a scene like that. That broadcast, I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, they like, General, we've got a transmission coming in. It's very weak, but it's there.
Did you hit the record button? Do it. Hello! This is Palpatine. I'm surrounded by strobe lights. Can somebody do something about the static? Kill it if you have to.
So Kylo Ren uses the Wayfinder. He finds Palpatine,
who tells him, "Go find the girl and kill her." And this is why. But the leaked script already told us, and there are enough hints already. So then we get to Rey, who is being trained by General Organa. Forever our queen, forever our princess, forever our general.
It's first shown floating in midair, which we haven't seen before either.
I was gonna... For some reason, I had a weird fake memory of Luke doing it. I'm like, no, wait, no, he never did.
He stood on his head while trying to lift the Star.
Yes. Yeah, but, you know, she floats now.
Yeah.
Jedi, they fly now. Then she has the training droid, and she's, like, running a gauntlet. Then she gets a little mad at it and breaks it with her stick and drops a tree on BB-8.
So, Nick, are we far enough now that you know what...
It's coming back to me.
Okay.
Okay,
are
then
good?
Then some people are like, man, I can't believe Palpatine's back. I don't know. Should we react in any way? Nah, let's just take it as it is. So then, the movie becomes... Because... Apparently Luke was looking for like 30 years for a Sith Wayfinder and never told anyone he was doing it, except that Rey just knows he was doing it. And it turns out everyone knew he was doing it. They're like, oh, you didn't know? Well, I'll screw the audience, I guess.
And somehow they knew that this other Sith Lord was sent by Palpatine to look for the other way.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
and then, he was also apparently the one that took that was going after Palpatine's son and his wife and kid.
Yeah, well, we all find this stuff out through my least favorite thing in any film, exposition dumps. Where the movie stops and the character goes, I'm going to tell the audience everything they need to know, and I'm going to act like none of you know it either. How do you know it? I read the script. But anyway, so then they have to go to Space Coachella, and Rey gets a necklace.
And go ahead. You're going to say the same thing I was going to say.
I liked that scene, though, that planet, because it showed that not everything in this galaxy was fucked by the...
Oh, yeah, no.
You can bleep that out.
Yeah, I'm not going to. You said it. It's in the film.
Yeah, it wasn't...
we don't market to children.
Not everything
unless we are dealing in children.
But the most important and the worst part about the scene on that planet is the little kid... What's your name? Rey. Rey what? Like, we didn't need that setup.
Yeah, no,
that was completely unnecessary.
That was a poor setup. Like, it wasn't even just unnecessary. It just wasn't good. It was so dwelt on in a movie that's been moving a mile a minute so far. Mm-hmm. It just stops too long and makes everyone go, "Oh, we're gonna revisit this later."
Like, why did she have to say, "I don't know"? Couldn't she just said, "It's just Rey"?
Yeah, just Rey. She's like Cher.
Didn't she say it's just Rey?
No, she said she asked her Rey what, and she said, "I don't know," right?
Yeah, so it was like, "I don't know," or something, and the child was like, "Oh, who's your family?" There was like a second question that like drove it home more, and I can't really remember. So they go there. They're looking for the MacGuffin that will lead them to another MacGuffin that will take them to the MacGuffin that will get them to the third act. So, Lando is there, which actually led to a scene that made me laugh way more than it should have. It's when they get, because you're used to seeing aliens in these movies either speak like regular people or speak in a language that, you know, is indecipherable to us. So they get into Lando's little carriage, and he like looks at his alien driver. He's like, "Get us out of here!" And the alien just turns and goes, "Okay." And I lost it. So Lando's just been there, and he's like, "Oh, I've been looking for this thing with Luke for like 30 years." And okay, well, they're like, "Shit. Man, if Luke and Lando couldn't find this thing in 30 years, how are we going to find it?" And then they find it 2 minutes later when they fall into a snake pit. And Finn's all like, "Rey, I got something I got to tell you. And she's like, okay. Which we found out not from the movie, but from the directors and other not in the movie sources that he's trying to tell her that he's Force sensitive. So why wait until they're about to die, presumably, for him to be like, "Oh, I've got something I've always wanted to tell you"? You've been hanging out with 2 Jedi for a while now. You could have said any... I think that was just supposed to be another thing. Another one of J.J. Abrams' mystery box things. Where they made a setup with either no payoff in this case or bad payoff in other cases. And that's not just saying in this film. That's just one of the lingering problems J.J. Abrams has.
Let's go back.
Are you caught up yet?
Let's go back to before they got into Snake Pit. I'm pretty sure it's before they got into Snake Pit, when the troopers were following them.
They fly now.
Finally introduced jetpacks on the troopers. We've had this in games.
That wasn't the first introduction to jetpacks on the trooper. The first introduction, because all their technology is based off of Mandalorian technology, is in The Mandalorian.
Did they have them?
Actually, it's in the old Bounty Hunter video game, if you want to get technical.
No, what I'm saying is, well, for mainline, canon
mainline.
Star Wars. Canon Star Wars.
We've not seen flying stormtroopers.
Yet they've had it in like all these spin-offs, all these video games, and they finally introduced flying troopers.
And they've also introduced in this movie stormtroopers that don't have bad aim.
That's
Yeah.
So I felt like a lot of things that they introduced in this movie should have came much sooner.
Is anybody
much sooner?
Was anybody else greatly dissatisfied that in neither of the two sequels to Force to the Force Awakens did we really get? I know she supposedly died, but I really wanted like Captain Phasma to be a little more developed.
Captain Phasma
was supposed to be the new Boba Fett, right?
I mean, technically...
Or Jango Fett.
Honestly, technically, she got more screen time than Boba Fett.
Well, no, but I saw this as an opportunity to do that character right by proxy.
Right, yeah, it's one of those things...
And they
didn't. They didn't do it. They thought they can skate by having cool armor and Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah, but then
you didn't get a character out of it.
They should have had a scene where her like half her mask gets cut off with a lightsaber or something.
Well, her mask did get busted open in The Last Jedi.
Did we see her face?
Part of it. You saw like her eye and a cheek.
Oh, come on.
As she's falling into a pit of fire. Brief aside, apparently there was an alternate scene filmed. Instead of her and Finn fighting it out,
They were making love?
No. No, he is not Jaime Lannister. He instead calls her out for dropping the shields on Starkiller Base in front of her troops. And she ends up being gunned down by them.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Apparently the alternate scene involves her like really putting up an emotional fight or maybe something that would have been emotional if we had developed her.
Why don't they keep these alternate scenes? Like I Am Legend had a great one.
We shouldn't be talking about I Am Legend.
Anyway, yeah.
Nick, go back to your... You were talking about
Flying stormtroopers finally being introduced.
Yeah. My point ends with that.
It should have been established earlier.
But the next scene after the next important scene after the snake pit is the death of Chewie, the supposed death of Chewie. So
that tore me to shreds. I I saw him die. Could have sworn I saw him die. Really hoping that it didn't die. But in my head I was thinking, no, you're hoping, but you know it's not true. And then he's back. He's back. And I was brought back to life.
How did Finn screw up that call? He's like, they got Chewie on that ship. I just saw them put him in there.
Well, no, so they grab Chewie and load him onto his ship, and he runs back to tell them, and when he comes back out, Rey's force pulling a ship that had taken him off. Finn's assuming
that was the same ship.
Yeah.
When that ship exploded, I was not crushed one bit. I was more like, oh shit, they had the balls to do that.
Well, but when the lightning shot out of Rey's hands, at that moment I was like, Palpatine's granddaughter. Because he's the only character that I think in any of the movies we've ever seen with
He's the only one. He's the only one that we've seen do Force lightning. Also, then it was at that moment I was like, the leaked script is 100% true. Great. Thanks. I don't know. I didn't read the whole thing. And plus, there are a lot of leaks that turn out to be complete BS. And I'm like, I want to see what this one's
Yeah, but who's the actor who plays Finn?
John Boyega.
John Boyega clearly stated that the leaked script was real because he left it under his bed in his hotel room.
Do you think I followed those interviews? I mean, I should. We're talking about the movie he's in, but when the Force lightning came out, I'm like, okay, I know where this is going. And then, but here's the thing, with the death of Chewie, like, everyone's sad in that moment, and then the rest of the movie goes on like nothing. Like, they're like, oh, John Boyega's like, damn it. Well, everyone on the ship, time to go. And meanwhile, there's a Knight of Ren just like being set dressing somewhere.
But they're in the middle of a war. You can't.
Yeah.
The next scene, they're like, where are we going next, gang? No one cared. There was no arc to that scene.
I don't remember it like that. I remember a lot of, like, there was an air about everything.
Yeah.
For the 30,
they were distraught, but they were focused and determined.
Well, yeah, you would sense that distraughtness up until they discovered that he was still alive.
I didn't feel that. I did not feel that at all. Again, this comes down.
We need to talk about this lack of empathy.
I've got a ton. I saved cats, damn it. I think it would have meant more.
Is that the problem? Because Chewie's a giant dog, not a giant cat?
I always saw him as a bear, but he's like Smokey the Bear. But
a giant Ewok.
The thing is, I probably would have cared more if they let us think he was dead for more than 2 minutes before triumphantly returning and like all the happy music plays and they're like, we've got one prisoner. And like, oh, everyone's like, Chewie's alive. Take him to be tortured. Oh, Chewie's alive.
Tell you what, I would have
shave him.
I would have been at peace with Chewie dying in that movie if he like died in a legit heroic way. For him to die at a hero's hand accidentally, I felt like.
Oh, and then right before they cremate his body, they bring him over to the metal over his corpse.
We'll get to that. I've had time to let that one stew too. But anyway, so we got to Chewie.
You know where you're at?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Oh my God, you're fired.
Let's keep going.
All right, so then they have to go. So then they have the dagger that will take you to the Wayfinder. We'll also get to that later too. And they have to. They want C-3PO to translate it because it's in Sith runes, and C-3PO's like. Yeah, no, I can't do that. That's not, like, my protocol prohibits me from translating Sith runes. It's part of how I was built and programmed. Which then, hold on a second.
What?
What part of his protocol says he can't translate Sith runes? Why would that be a thing?
Wait, he was programmed by Anakin Skywalker.
Yes,
as a child.
As a child. He also and he had his memory wiped between episode 3 and 4. That is true.
Did Anakin program him, or did Anakin just put a pre-programmed?
That's true, because he was a particular type of droid. Yeah. So there was probably pre-established programming.
But like
there was a template.
But
for sure.
But like that just raises the question: like, what manufacturer was like, he can translate every known language? No, can't have him do this one.
He can translate Sith. He just can't speak it.
Well, yeah. Why?
Also, wouldn't the person that programmed him have to have known what Sith runes were like to be able to recognize them and have him?
And I'm not. And I get it. Like that all takes place in a time where the Jedi were alive and walking around, and the Sith had been defeated in battle, but you know they were still known. So it's one of those things. It's like he can translate it, but he can't speak it. So my question is, why was he programmed that way? Was it just to give us a reason to go to this planet and introduce the best character in the movie? My man, Babu effing Frick.
Babu Frick. The best scene in the whole movie was when he was shown on the ship. He just randomly pops up.
That was one of those things I'm like, I love it, I hate it, and I love it, and I hate it, and I love it some more. Why is he there? I don't know, I don't care. So we...
So much better than a pork.
Yeah, so much.
But
the one cool thing on this Ex Machina planet is that it makes the stormtroopers feel threatening in this sequence of scenes. They're going door to door. They're dragging people out of their homes. Like, we're usually used to seeing them be, like, poor aim or just in battle. We don't see them going door to door like stormtroopers, dragging people out of their homes looking for these fugitives. And in that, I was like, I actually kind of like this side of the stormtroopers.
Right. And the other thing that I really like that they did with the stormtroopers was having a whole, like, battalion of stormtroopers that defected.
Right. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I wish we could have gotten a little more time with that character before the movie ended.
We're going to.
I don't care about what we're going to do. I care about what's in this narrative. And they introduced an awesome character. They wanted Finn to have like a female counterpart because China didn't want Rose. And angry Star Wars fans didn't want Rose. My man Finn's had 3 love interests so far.
Who's the first?
Rey. 100%. They were trying to
I
get...
felt like there was...
They were trying to go with, like, the Han and Leia dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay, but speaking of Rey and Finn, my biggest disappointment, like, even you can tell, even though JJ got his hands back on the franchise, he did not get to do the trilogy that he originally intended. Because that second installment just threw a monkey wrench in everything. It was so clear that he intended to do more with Finn's force sensitivity.
Oh, he wanted to, yes.
And at
That
one
was
point,
something that was hinted and established
at one point,
in the first 5 minutes
Yeah.
of The Force Awakens.
At one point, we get in Force Awakens, we see Finn with a freaking lightsaber.
Yeah.
Where did that go? The Last Jedi. There's going to be a lot of haters out there, but I really would have liked it to have been more like, rather than calling it The Last Jedi, The New Jedi Order or something, and have Finn and Rey both established as New Jedi, and then in this movie have them both training in the beginning with Leia.
I mean, yeah, that would have been fine. And here's another like brief aside where I gotta say, a little finger wag to JJ where it's like, just because the second movie that you wanted didn't get made doesn't mean that you get to spend over half of this movie trying to correct course. You were supposed to write the third movie, not the second and third movie, because you didn't get the trilogy you wanted. This isn't about what he wanted. This had to have been about creating a consecutive trilogy. Now, I'm not saying that The Last Jedi was perfect. I think it's the weakest one in the series. And it's one of the weakest, for me, narratively, it's one of the weakest Star Wars movies.
I really like the movie. It just clashes with the rest of the trilogy.
It clashes with the rest of the trilogy. It clashes with the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. It's like Rian Johnson wanted to do an art house Star Wars film,
Which would have been fine if he had his own trilogy or his own standalone to do.
Well, what I think would even I'll go even simpler and say if he just wanted if all he did was keep continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because now this movie, like Rise of Skywalker has the Knights of Ren in 2 scenes and then set dressing the rest of the time that they're there. They were introduced less than halfway through the first film in Rey's vision. Or maybe at the halfway point. In Rey's vision. They were all supposed to be Jedi students of Luke Skywalker. That followed Kylo Ren.
Back up for a second. Who all were supposed to be?
The Knights of Ren.
The Knights of Ren, okay.
Because at least that's how that Rey's vision makes it look. It makes it kind of look... Well, no, Rey's vision makes it look like Kylo Ren has followers.
Yeah, and whatever happened to the Knights of Ren? We get them in this movie for like 5
collective
seconds.
minutes.
And you know, and 2 minutes of that is just the camera panning around of a music video shot, a rock video shot of the Knights of Ren boy band.
Yeah, they walk in slow motion with big weapons on screen. And then the rest of it is camera panning, and you see one of them just like standing there like, hey!
And if the Knights of Ren are the former students of Luke,
why
are none of them using the Force?
Well, because I think they just wanted to ditch that idea. They just ditched the idea. And the thing is, in Episode 7, it doesn't...
But they didn't. They didn't ditch the idea.
Let me get there. In Episode 7, the Knights of Ren are established in the Vision as Kylo Ren's followers when he burnt down Luke's Jedi school. In Episode 8, Luke explicitly says that when Kylo Ren left, he took a handful of students with him. So those two put together, that's who the Knights of Ren are. They were also students of Luke's that defected to join Kylo Ren. And in this, they have absolutely nothing to do with Kylo Ren. Absolutely nothing to do with him. He's not in a single scene with them up until they're trying to kill him.
Well, and the other issue... well, this might be established somewhere, but what is Ren?
Yeah, especially if they introduce the name Knights of Ren.
Yeah, was that ever covered?
Nope.
What is Ren?
I would assume it's a title like Moff. But that's the thing, they just let you assume. Now, granted, Episode 4 also let you assume... They're like, oh, Moff Tarkin, I guess Moff's his first name, I guess? I don't know.
Alright, well... So let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Which one?
The
dagger? Are we going to talk about the dagger? Can we talk about the dagger?
Well, I was going to go more with the weird relationship between the rule of two, the new rule of two. The what do they call it? The
dyad? The
dyad, yeah.
Oh, we will get there. Because we also got to cover Poe's dude totally not gay moments.
Okay, well then let's start with the dagger. I guess that would be in chronological order.
Yes.
So Nick, what do you think about the dagger?
I don't even remember it coming into the movie. Like, I remember it being in the movie, but it kind of just like popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah, they when they fell into the snake pit, they're like, oh shit, you know that thing Luke's been looking for 30 years and Lando's been living on this planet for a while looking for?
Hey, there it is.
Found it.
That's our way.
And Rey is like, God damn, this plot just comes to me.
And how... So you have the Death Star sitting in the middle of the ocean.
In the middle of the ocean.
The Death Star.
After it was vaporized 40 years ago.
Yeah. And somebody building this dagger as a type of map decided to match it to the wreckage that's sitting in the ocean and is very likely to shift and move.
Maybe parts of it are falling off. And then
but somehow it's exactly the same after 50 years.
Exactly the same. Now, you also need to think about the size of the second Death Star. It's like at least twice the size of the first. If you look at the scales. Like, first Death Star, second Death Star.
Well,
this thing is also massive.
Well, and let's not forget that the only way that this map is going to work is if you're standing in the exact spot where the person where the guy that forged it mapped it out when he built the map.
And somehow Rey
Rey's standing in the exact spot.
As soon as she's opens it, she's right there in the exact spot.
Oh my god. So Babu Frick wipes C-3PO's memory, which I thought, because they actually let him stay memoryless for a while, and the way he does, like, I'm saying goodbye to all my friends, or saying I'm taking one last look at my friends. Two things. One, I was like, this actually feels kind of final. And 2, I was like, your friends, they've been treating you like shit for like, this is the 9th movie everyone around you has treated you like garbage.
But he's going to think everybody's his friends, because he's a what droid?
A protocol droid.
A protocol droid, but he specializes in human-cyborg relations.
Yes. So, well, whatever. So they, well, I honestly, as soon as someone was like, oh, R2 doesn't back up your memory, I was like, shit. I guess they're not going to kill this one off either. So he translates it, and doesn't the translation of the ancient Sith runes give them coordinates to the Wayfinder, which is how they end up on the planet with the Death Star that crashed there like 30 years ago?
It was an ancient rune.
Those are some ancient goddamn runes, weren't they?
Shit.
Why couldn't they just have the... Why, like... I feel that makes me feel like the dagger, like they could have gone to places to find out where this was, but it takes the dagger and makes it a moot point.
Well, and why is the dagger itself feels like an ancient ruin, which it can't be.
Yeah, it's that upsets me a little bit.
Why did we just the Wayfinder would have been fine. Just a Wayfinder. There was no point in having the dagger.
Yeah, I mean if they were looking for...
That way they could have... I'm sorry.
If they got the coordinates...
Oh, the Wayfinder just takes them to the planet.
Yeah, it gets you coordinates to Exelon, whatever it is.
They could have gotten the coordinates from anything else. Maybe the guy that died down in the cave wrote them on the freaking wall. And
or had like a note or something on them.
They could have gotten the coordinates that
paper was introduced in episode 8, so people could have paper.
Yeah, they could have gotten to the planet without the ancient rune. Just the knowledge that
or
was passed down from...
Or just
like astronaut droid.
Yeah, the little Dio guy.
Then they could have like gotten to the planet, saw the Death Star in there and be like, oh, the Sith Wayfinder must be on the Death Star.
Yeah. If it's gonna be anywhere, it might be on the wreckage of the Death Star. So then we get the introduction of I forget her name. The chick who bonds with Finn a little bit over the fact that they are both stormtroopers, and that was the start of a character dynamic I wish hadn't been so skipped over. I wish we had. If they would have gotten rid of the whole dagger subplot, they could have spent a little less time on that planet with Lando and a little more time on this planet developing their characters.
I'm fairly certain, you're not going to like this, but I'm fairly certain that's yet another character we are going to see in a future movie.
And that's fine if we see her in a...
Or series. That's it probably more like a Disney plot, probably on The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
no, that wouldn't work. Wouldn't work.
Actually, you want to hear something? Here's something. There is apparently a deleted scene on the planet where they're talking to Lando. A deleted scene with him where he mentions how he had a daughter that was taken from him to be put into the Stormtrooper program. So again, everyone has to be fucking related to everyone.
Yeah, but that's not the girl we're talking about, though. That's the girl with Finn, right?
That's who we're talking about.
I thought we were talking about...
Oh, Poe's
chick.
Yeah, we'll get to her, too. I know she was already in the movie and had her entire arc resolved in like 3 minutes. But she might pop up in other movies. Maybe we'll see her face. I don't know. But I'm talking about Finn's chick.
I thought she got enough screen time to establish the character and set her up.
I guess for me personally, I would have liked to see a little more between the two of them. A little more heart to heart, since Finn, up to that point, assumed he was the only stormtrooper that defected. Mm-hmm. And then to meet that there was apparently a whole platoon that left. Like, you would think that would be a really emotional moment for him. Mm-hmm. Given that, his arc from episode 7 that was repeated in episode 8 and is non-existent in episode 9 could give him a little something.
They could have revisited the fact, or went into him being force sensitive, like have him confide in her that he thinks he's force sensitive.
Well, and I think they could have also went about it in
in a, I guess just in a better way, why do they have to start having this conversation about, that leads to them talking about him defecting? Oh, you were a stormtrooper, so were we. Why not have him, he's going through their base. Why not have him come upon
like a helmet or something?
Yeah, that would have been neat.
It's just anything to give us a little more time. I wouldn't even say giving her more screen time, but give those two more calm time together. Because it's in the quiet moments of a movie where you build your characters, not so much in the loud action-packed stuff. In this movie has kind of a weird balance where it really leans into the fast-paced stuff. It doesn't give us a lot of time to breathe with our characters and build them more. But anyway, detracting a little bit. So Rey takes up part of the blade, which is apparently just like a compass or something. And she's like, oh, I guess I gotta go there. And they're like, okay, we'll fly you over in the morning. And she's like, nope. And she takes a boat out, pretty much.
And we established earlier that she can freaking fly with the Force, so why isn't she just levitating herself over to the Death Star?
And how did she learn how to use a boat? Just like you think, she spent her entire life in a desert.
Sand sails.
The ocean is different than the sand.
She's Force intuitive.
I guess we can go with that. And she.
Well, that's how Anakin knew how to fly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, I was literally going to follow that up with, it's a little bit of a nitpick coming from someone who loves a trilogy, where Luke's first, like, space battle is him using the turret of the Millennium Falcon that he's never used before for the first time ever in space, taking out a squadron of trained TIE fighter pilots, and then being the only survivor other than Wedge Antilles the only person other than Wedge Antilles to survive the assault on the first Death Star. So I'm not trying to like pull the whole Mary Sue thing, because literally everyone in Star Wars is a Mary Sue. That's like part of the territory. I think they lean into it too much with Rey in this movie, because I'm okay with her being infallible. The whole idea, like she is like a legit Disney princess in space. She is just a good person who wants to do good and be good, and nothing's going to take that from her. This movie makes you focus on that so much more because they try to like give her a struggle. When her struggle with the dark side in this movie is nonsense. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
And what's with the random vision of evil Rey that lasts all of 5 seconds?
I think that was just something that they thought would look cool. But then when it hisses at her and its face changes, I'm like, that was another laughable moment for me. I'm like, they wanted that to be scary, and it's not.
I just hate these Force visions where people are like fighting manifestations of themselves. It's just overdone at this point.
I think it had its one place. When I say it had its one place, this is the one pass, and that is Luke. Luke in The Empire Strikes Back,
fighting the Darth Vader when the helmet cracks open. It's his face.
Yeah, it's Luke's face. I'm like, it should have stopped there. Like, I get the idea you want to have familiarity, but familiarity can be in tone and action and the world that the characters inhabit, not exact moments.
And that Force vision had more purpose, because didn't Yoda create that one to train him?
I don't think Yoda created it as much as it was just, I guess they were trying to be like, oh, just like the Force is kind of swelling in these areas of Dagobah. And it's more like, I think they tried to say like the Force was reacting to Luke to manifest his fears.
Okay, I always took it to be part of his training that Yoda had actually manifested.
Oh, it was part of his training, but Yoda knew what Luke would... That's what that place did. And that's why he kept saying...
know, without Luke telling him, what the vision was?
Well, it's Yoda. Come on now. Everyone gives Yoda a pass. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to watch it again to be sure. I don't think they actually fully explain it in the movie. I'm sure there's a novelization or a comic book or a cartoon or a video game that explains it in explicit detail. So that way someone in the comment section could be like, well, actually, in Empire Stories Part 2 in Chapter 12. And I could be like, well, if it was that important, it would be in the movie. But anyway. So Rey fights the dark version of herself because I'm sure the people making this film thought she looked really cool with a double-sided lightsaber and a cloak. Admittedly, she looks pretty cool.
Yeah, but...
Then it ends immediately.
That's yet another thing, though, that they could have gotten to in a much more story-appropriate way.
Yes.
You could have had Kylo Ren and Rey plotting to against Palpatine, planning to trick him. You could have Kylo Ren supposedly convincing Rey to come to the dark side, and then her getting the dual-bladed red lightsaber, and them going there, and then he actually could have had a fight scene between Palpatine and dual-bladed Rey.
Anything to make that more appropriate. One thing that I've always said since I saw this movie is the script was literally one revision away from being stellar. They came up with so many ideas that they thought were so cool, but right in the final hour they were like, you think we should tidy the script up just a little bit, make sure everything like flows and makes sense? No, it's going to be so cool.
Or you might have it backwards, though. Maybe it was one revision past being perfect.
I think whatever note on the whiteboard that they had that said "fuck Ryan Johnson," they should have erased that and instead wrote "just make a sequel, just make a better movie." But
Speaking of fuck Ryan Johnson,
we're gonna get there. So
let's get there now.
I mean, fuck Ryan Johnson, but. There were some good moments of the "fuck you, Ryan Johnson" stuff in this film, including Junior.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. So, okay, after one of the many missions in this movie, I think wasn't it Poe that was like walking past a very younger looking Akbar creature?
Yeah, and he turns to him and refers to him as Junior.
Yeah, he like pats him on the shoulder. He's like, "Good work there, Junior." And it's like dwelt on just enough, and I'm like, I'm okay with that one. I like that one.
But the disappointment there is that we never get him saying it's a trap.
I'm okay with it.
Or at least have just a little, I don't know.
Any line of dialogue from that character.
Any line of no, he did speak. And I was disappointed in how different his voice was.
Whatever.
But
he's still growing up.
But we're starting to go pretty long, so let's fast forward to the.
Okay, so they find the Wayfinder in the Death Star.
Chris, chill.
This movie makes me feel things, man.
I know, but we're trying to get words in, and you're not letting us.
I am so sorry, guys. You take over after Dark Ray. Nick, you're up.
So they find the Wayfinder after an epic battle between Kylo and Rey on the top of the Death Star in the ocean.
I actually like that battle.
I love that battle.
I like how like she was like getting like so tired.
Just backflip over the wave as it crashed into the side.
Like I was take it or leave it with that. I was more like the body acting, how they were both just getting tired during this fight. And we finally got the answer to, in a fair fight, Kylo Ren has so much lightsaber training, he would wipe the floor. He wasn't trying to kill her. He knew it's what he had to do, but he wasn't trying to. But you saw he had the upper hand that entire fight. He was just the better fighter.
Yeah, he's the better fighter, but Rey, I believe, is the better pedigree.
We'll get there.
So she gets the Wayfinder and then ditches everybody to go back to Palpatine's planet.
You're
Sort of ditches. She leads the way by placing, what was it? She placed markers, or she did something.
She sent the
She
coordinates.
calmed or sent something to them to like show them the path to safely get through to the planet. Whatever. Gets there.
You forgot when Kylo Ren broke that Wayfinder. Before their lightsaber fight.
We don't need...
Okay,
We've
fine.
already broken an hour, so...
Oh, fuck them. So
Yeah, she gets there, confronts Palpatine, where Palpatine, biggest spoiler, which we've already visited, is her grandfather.
And he looks like Mojo from X-Men with all the tubes and shit coming out of his back.
I was going to say he was attached to GLaDOS from Portal, but yeah,
That's the...
I was okay with it. A lot of
This
people...
is very much GLaDOS.
Yeah, I was like, a lot of people didn't like that aesthetic. I'm like, no, I think Palpatine actually looks fucking, like, menacing right now. So,
And he was,
I liked
he was
it.
very condescending, just like GLaDOS as well.
Yes. Not as funny, though.
Anyways, so Rey's confronting Palpatine while everybody else is making their way to the planet, and they all come in and see this sky full of starships with Death Star technology on them, and they decide, people are coming, we're gonna get help, we know it, we gotta have hope, we're gonna do as much as we can right now, which eventually leads into my biggest awe of this movie was when the rest of them finally do come in, and it's just like Star Wars, exactly how like you would envision Star Wars to be by that title, just a shit ton of spaceships,
All
in
different
all out
kinds.
epic battle.
This is brought to you by Avengers Endgame.
A lot of this movie was taken from Avengers Endgame.
Yeah. No, continue.
So yeah, onto it.
So you're forgetting that we had all these the Sith. What were those ships? The infiltrators? Or the infiltrators?
The Star Destroyers with Death Stars on them.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. The miniature Death Stars.
Yeah.
You didn't like that?
No. It's, I don't know. For me, it's like it's like I know they wanted to make the stakes seem higher than ever, but they counteracted that to me by being like, oh well, none of them can leave the planet without the GPS. And I was like, so they have
Give me
the
Garmin.
But wait a second, hold on. They said that this fleet, because they were getting ready to launch the fleet. And the fleet couldn't launch until they had the proper GPS satellite telling them where to go. As opposed to just putting the planet to your back and going forward.
Tatooine on your left in 500 parsecs.
Well, they had to navigate through all the crap surrounding it. And for that many to go all at once, that it would have to be very coordinated.
Right, and I get that. That's why you know how like the satellite closes up and they transmit the master signal to the Moff's or General's Star Destroyer. I was like, if they're able to just like send it via Wi-Fi to make one of them the GPS, why doesn't he Wi-Fi it to all of them? But
and where's the destination?
And also, if this whole thing is an issue for them to be that these Star Destroyers can't get out of the atmosphere without this thing, why do we see one out in space already blowing up a planet?
Well, that was led by the ground satellite.
Why? they hadn't launched the fleet yet, and it was out there already blowing up planets. It was like
It's just fun.
Hey,
It's just for show. You know how
hey,
bad guys are.
Emperor, care if I take this baby for a spin?
Alright, just be back by dinner. We're having meatloaf tonight.
And Jedi.
We're having meatloaf. And I'm having my granddaughter over. I would like you to meet her very, very much.
All right, you care if I get a 6-pack for us when we get back?
Do it.
Yeah, that was a weird thing for me, and I just thought of that too. I'm like, wait a minute.
If they have the intellect to miniaturize planet-killing technology to fit on a freaking starship, they should be able to program a bunch of ships to safely navigate through.
They should be able to, but much like every plan Palpatine has ever had, he has glaring holes in his plans.
How did we... This is, again, a continuity issue because of the JJ versus Ryan situation. We go from Star Destroyers, which are much more powerful than a Death Star, back to miniature Death Stars. We're going from destroying...
Wait. Star Destroyers? Star Destroyers are not more powerful than a Death Star.
No, not...
They're giant tortilla chips.
Starkiller Base, sorry.
Yes.
The Starkiller Base.
Yeah, the one that can destroy entire solar systems.
Yeah. And now we're kind of backtracking back to...
Well, it's also like, why in Episode 8 did we have those slow-ass, weak-ass bomber ships when we've had Y-Wings since Episode 4, which are bomber ships? And you see them in this movie. People are piloting Y-Wings.
Oh, and Chris, you also forgot one of your biggest issues with this movie.
Oh, which one?
From much, much earlier. Actually, well early in the first act. The
title crawl?
No.
The dead speak.
No. Like, wow, where's that movie? I want to see that movie.
No, the light skipping or whatever they called it.
Oh, you know what? I feel a little more forgiving because it was pretty cool to see. I just kind of always assumed in the lore they're like, yeah, you don't do light speed in atmospheres because
not only that, but
it'll tear the planet apart.
But I also thought that
even though they did it in Starkiller Base too, but
I also thought there was something that took time to charge. And they were just like,
well,
jump to light speed, jump to light speed, jump to light speed.
Didn't somebody bring that up and then one of them said something about bypassing another piece of technology?
Oh yeah, and they did say something about that. Didn't they do some damage to the...
They did do some damage. Ray scolds Poe for damaging some part of the Falcon doing that. And then Poe scolds her for dropping a tree on BB-8.
Yeah.
Which I get it. I think it's a cool thing, but I feel like it was established in one of the prior films.
That's something that completely escaped me. Was BB-8 in this at all?
Yeah.
Barely.
He was barely there, but he was there. He popped in and out.
Yeah, why the hell did we need D-O when we have BB-8?
I don't know. I actually did.
Why do we need any of them when we have Boba Frick?
Why did this movie not star entirely Babu Frick? Why wasn't Rey killed in the first act?
I now want to...
And then Babu Frick just picks up this giant-ass lightsaber and he's like... just starts chopping people's legs off.
We now need a Disney Plus team-up special between Baby Yoda and Babu Frick.
And Babu Frick. Oh my god. Babu effing Frick. We just had the Avengers Endgame moment where everyone shows up.
Yeah, so we're very close to the moment where... vision of Ghost Han. Or no, back up a second. We kind of glossed over the whole fight and Rey basically killing Kylo Ren before healing him.
Well, technically poetically that was the death of Kylo Ren. Poetically.
Now, but here's the issue with that scene. So Leia
he didn't seem to care that much being stabbed.
But Leia had her... said she was going to reach out to Kylo.
Something like that, and then she walks
What
away.
happened?
She overdosed
She
on the
dies.
Force. Well,
But
technically,
what-
she dies when Rey
Does
stabs Ben.
But did did Kylo hear her voice?
He felt her,
He felt her.
or maybe he did hear her voice. She reached out to connect to him, and then Rey stabs him, and then Leia dies, which kind of led me to think like Ben wasn't going to die from that stab wound. Leia took the damage.
Okay. But I was watching Fat Man Beyond, and either Kevin Smith or Mark Bernardin brought up a good... I think it was them. It might have been another show.
Who cares?
But anyway.
We're the only show that matters, Nerd Citadel.
But, yeah, one of them brought up that... Did Leia... What they should have done is have Leia pull Han back from the Force and give...
Why would he be in the Force?
Everybody returns to the Force. It's just only Jedi that are able...
To keep their sentience?
Yeah. So, well, not keep their sentience, but actually come back from the Force.
Gotcha.
But the Force is all living things.
Yes. Well, technically, according to the prequels... Nah, it's microscopic shit in your blood.
No, that's just what allows some people to tap in and utilize the Force.
Okay, I stop doing semantics.
It's like Super Saiyan cells.
Honestly...
Yes, S cells.
S cells. Did you hear about that yet? Apparently, there's cells that determines your Super Saiyan.
Yes, Super Saiyans have midichlorians now.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. Yeah, that's
If
dumb.
you have
That's
a high
dumb
enough
as
number
hell.
of S cells, you can turn into a Super Saiyan.
That's dumb as hell.
Anyway, but I would have liked the vision of Han to have been Han.
Not happened.
No, I like that it happened, but I would have preferred it to actually been Han. Leia used the last ounce of energy, and this isn't my idea, this was Kevin Smith or Mark Bernard, pulled Han back.
I don't like that either. I think I like that even less than what happened. I think that was getting too far away from Star Wars and going into really, really ultra high fantasy stuff.
Star Wars is really ultra high fantasy.
No, it's not. It's basic fantasy. It's very basic fantasy in space.
They're basic.
Don't call me basic, bro. Yo, I'm bad. I'm bad AF. There's this fucking... Go tweet that.
But
Anyway.
then, after the Han scene, we have emo Kylo Ren becomes preppy sweater wearing Ben.
I think what probably 99% sure on this, he was going to have a conversation with his mother, but Carrie Fisher died, and they never filmed that. Mm-hmm. So they paid Harrison Ford an absurd amount of money to roll out of bed for an hour. Because it's really funny, because, like, when you, like, I think about it, and I'm like, I liked it in the moment. And the more I think about it, I'm like, his hair is longer, he's unshaven, I'm like, they couldn't even get Harrison Ford to shave for that scene. He was always a little scruffy, but he's, like, noticeably scruffier than he was in The Force Awakens. And I'm like, he just showed up and they put a vest on him. But overall, I thought the scene was fine. I don't like it, but it was fine. It did what it had to do. And, Ben's all like, oh, Ben Solo is dead. And Han's like, no, Kylo Ren is dead. Oh, I guess I'm a good guy now. Which eventually leads to him on Exegol. That's what it was called, Exegol. And he fights the Knights of Ren. And they beat the ever-living hell out of him. Until Rey does a Force transference with Luke's lightsaber that had been repaired. Mm-hmm. And then Ben has it. The thing he's wanted this whole time, he finally got it. And he pulls it out, and then he bodies the Knights of Ren. He just ruins them. He does some jumping around. He has to climb some things. He jumps off. I think he does like a superhero style landing at one point.
Yeah.
And then he just goes, oh. Which I thought was actually funny.
So when him and Rey are finally together in the chamber and they have the big fight, it's funny that yet another Jedi or Sith, has this huge fall and survives. Where the hell's Mace Windu? Because there's no way he died from that fall.
I think
it's not like
Emperor survived. Luke survived.
I think everybody's just abandoned.
Darth Maul survived. Where's Mace Windu?
It's not like he could have grabbed onto anything in that moment.
Did you see where he was falling to?
No, because he was like electrocuted and like flew off into the distance.
It was a city. He was very high up. Where he flew to. There wasn't a whole lot of buildings around him for him to grab onto.
He didn't have any hands in that moment. That's why I made he couldn't grab onto.
Do you remember the distance that freaking Darth Sidious, after being forced to electrocute himself, fell from?
Yeah, but he could have fell through.
Darth Maul was chopped in half and then fell into a sewer.
The Emperor was thrown into a reactor.
Yeah.
In Episode 6 and exploded in there.
Mace Windu's out there somewhere waiting for his revenge.
With two bionic hands.
Revenge? Everybody that he's fought is dead. He can't get any revenge anymore. He's probably just sad and waiting.
Unless they make him go to the dark side looking for revenge, looking to exterminate every Palpatine in the galaxy. No, please, no.
It's going to happen.
So, so Rey and Kylo Ren go to face off against the Emperor. Now, the Emperor's entire thing, up until this point, was telling Kylo Ren, I need you to kill the girl so she doesn't thwart our plans. And then she gets there and he's like, I don't want you to die. I need you to kill me.
And then we get the random line about the dyad.
And then when Ben shows up, he's like, Force dyad. Change of plans again. I'll take all your life force. And it makes him Ian McDermott-y.
Yeah, but the only thing that I took away from the whole dyad thing was, this has something to do with the rule of two.
I guess?
Maybe?
Well, I thought, at least from context clues in the film, in the trilogy, more so the last two, I was like, is it because they're connected through the Force and they're able to interact with each other? Because Snoke did that. Snoke set that connection up. Therefore, the Emperor set that connection up. Mm-hmm. Therefore, why is he just now being like, oh shit, you're a dyad. Okay, first I wanted you to die. And then I'm like, no, I don't want you to die. Funny Palpy making jokes. I need you to kill me so I can live inside of you. And all the Sith can live inside of you. Not all those CGI guys back there. I like to... Let's not talk about those. Oh, Kylo Ren. Oh. Shit. I'm gonna take both your life force and just be young forever. Go for Papa Palpatine.
I'm just now realizing a huge similarity between Palpatine and... Starts with an X. Anybody got it? Xehanort.
Xehanort. Oh!
Very long game.
Kingdom
many backup
Hearts.
plans.
He's
very Xehanort-y.
I just feel like Emperor Palpatine has been bluffing the whole time. He's like, I've foreseen this. I think he's just making educated guesses the entire time. His plans change so much. In the prequel trilogy, he's like, first I want to kill Padme, then I don't want to kill Padme, now I do want to kill Padme. Now I need her to be my friend, now I want to kill her.
He's probably got so many plans for no matter how circumstances might change, that he just, whenever something does change, he goes with it.
I just think he
has a plan for it.
Yeah, I think he's just quick-witted. Except for when it comes to Force lightning. his most defining power is the thing he is most irresponsible with. Second time in a row, after he throws Ben down a pit to not die, and he electrocutes the fleet, he electrocutes Rey, and he's like, "Oh, the Sith are in me," and then she hears all the voices of all the Jedi, which I'm okay with that now. I think it's a little cheesy, but Star Wars is cheesy.
Very Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, it's Star Wars, and Star Wars has its fair share of cheese. What I do love in that, though, is how you hear Anakin's voice. He's like, "Bring balance to the Force as I did." No, you didn't! The Emperor's not dead. The Sith are still a thing. You didn't do shit, Anakin.
Brought balance for a little while.
Did it?
A little bit. Yeah, until the First Order started.
Yeah, but according to the Mandalorian, there were still Imperial loyalists all around. I brought balance to the Force. Everything else can, suck it. But I don't know. Are you done? So she gets up and she's like, and all the Jedi live in me, and he's like, "This has never failed me before!" And he starts electrocuting her, and she's blocking it with her lightsaber. And at no point is he like,
well, "This is familiar.
This seems familiar." And she's blocking it with with Leia's lightsaber. And Kylo Ren's like, "Oh, I'm still here." And he tosses Luke's lightsaber to her, and she catches it, and she does the X-Men thing with it. And somehow having two lightsabers just gives her more power. I guess because, the way they're the only thing resisting that, and her using the Force, whatever. Energy and shit. She zaps the lightning back at Palpatine, who is smart enough to know the lightning is coming from him. And much like Mace Windu, he doesn't just stop. That would have really put a wrench in the whole, beating of him if he were to just stop.
Well, the lightning was its downfall with Windu, was his downfall with Vader, and now it's his downfall with Rey.
Why does he keep doing this? Is it like Alzheimer's kicking in? He just doesn't remember that this has failed how many times? So he electrocutes himself to the point that he vaporizes. But now here's the thing. He only vaporized himself because Rey deflected the lightning back at him. Therefore, I would award her the kill. So does now the Sith all live in her because that was the whole deal? She had to kill him for this to happen?
I think it's for the reason that...
Yeah, I know. That's just a funny little nitpick I've heard.
Well, but then she died. So when she died, did all the Sith die then? And then when Kylo Ren brings her back by transferring his life force to her, gives her a fresh start?
I guess, I don't know. Which, it's okay, so, because force healing had been done on him, I guess he kind of figured out, this is a thing that can be done, so if I concentrate, I can do it. And so he does it, and he brings her back, and then we have one of the most unearned kisses in cinematic history. Especially since, a lot of what he's done has been, equivalent to, severe emotional abuse.
Well, and he's responsible for the death of every person she ever cared about.
He should have gone in for that kiss, and she should have punched him. Just punch the shit out of him. Just be like, "What are you doing?"
Or you just hear a lightsaber ignite.
Ugh. And that's how he dies. So they kiss, and then he dies. Which I think it kind of would have been cool. And I know they would have never had the balls to do this. What if he was the one that lived?
I thought that too for a second.
And then have it go into the epilogue with him struggling to try and find his place in this world after committing so much atrocity. But anyway, he dies. She lives. They go back home. Poe has like his fifth bro not gay moment in this movie. You do see two chicks kissing in the back, but kind of out of focus, and like it's like framed in a way that can be easily taken out for Singapore. And it was because you gotta get those bucks.
And then we get Rey returns to Tatooine.
Oh wait, first we gotta stop the movie again for some fan service where Maz Kanata comes out and is like, Chewie, I have this thing for you.
A medal that isn't even yours.
Yeah, a medal that is the Medal of Yavin from the last
given to Solo.
That was given to Han Solo. This is for you. If I were Chewbacca, I'd have been like, this is 30 years ago. Why the fuck do I want this now?
You know what?
I didn't want it then.
You know what I didn't pick up on, but then I heard other people talking about it? When Ben's body disappears when he dies, Leia's body also disappears.
Yes.
Yeah.
I missed that completely.
Yeah, no, both their bodies disappear at the same time. They both return to the Force. So I guess they're trying to say that, like, Leia's spirit stayed in this world.
But why does everybody return to the Force now? That's supposed to be, like, a
That's
special
something,
thing that
that's
only
something
certain
you
Jedi
attain.
can do.
Well, apparently everybody who's Force sensitive now can do it.
Yeah, you know what? That's a thing.
Even Vader couldn't do it. They cremate Vader at the end.
Yes. Even though at the end of that movie, Luke does see Anakin as a Force ghost. In the original, too.
That's because Yoda helped him out.
Young Skywalker. I really am a narcissistic piece of shit, aren't I? Why can't you just let me rest in peace? Won't do that. Do that, I won't. So then Rey goes back to Tatooine. A place that Luke wanted to get away from and Leia has no good memories of, to the Peru homestead, and she buries the lightsabers. And at that point, Anakin's in the Force world like, she's burying my lightsaber in sand. I hate sand.
And Rey apparently at some point constructs her own lightsaber.
Yes, I actually do like the look of her lightsaber.
Well, what's interesting about it is, so in the past we had we've seen blue and green lightsabers, which I think are usually associated with the Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
The gold lightsaber is the color of the Jedi Sentinel, which so it's interesting that she chose that.
Well, technically the Kyber crystals
choose the Jedi.
Well, no, the crystals don't choose the Jedi. The color of the lightsaber reflects the Jedi that built that lightsaber.
Okay, but I
Then
wonder
again,
why
I saw other outside.
But I wonder why it's the color of the Jedi Sentinel.
But did you notice the
Because it
contrast?
looks cool.
Did you notice the contrast with the lightsaber though? The
Blue, green, make yellow.
Well, the hilt was made out of her staff.
wasn't it black?
There was black, and then there was the ivory from her staff.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a staff with like a wrap on
It was
it.
a dark hilt with a gold light. I saw it as contrast and balance.
Yeah, it's probably something like that. And then she not only buries them, but then force buries those lightsabers. I'm like, it's a weird location to do this. But okay. And then there's some random old lady in the middle of the desert. It's like,
what's your name?
People haven't been here in so long, dearie. What's your name?
and she's like, I'm Rey.
Ray who?
And then Rey looks off into the distance away from the lady who's probably at this point like,
How's she looking at?
and she sees Luke and Leia. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, the balls does this chick have if she were to turn and go, Rey Palpatine? So she turns and she sees Luke and Leia. And then she turns back and she's like, Rey Skywalker. And that's how the movie ends. But then I'm thinking about it and I'm like, why Skywalker? Who have you spent more time with and have been closer to this entire trilogy? Leia Organa. She'd been trained by Leia for like a year, maybe. Mm-hmm. She was trained by Luke reluctantly for like a day. He said she gets 3 lessons, but he decided to ditch on it as soon as she went to the darkness. She hung out there for a few more days before going to help her friends. And I'm like, your relationship with Luke has been really weird. Why would you take his name?
Well,
but I think they just wanted to give it a good wrap up, have her in the twin sunset, and just tickle those nostalgia testes.
Speaking of wrap ups, I think it's time.
I brought condoms.
I think it's time.
This is for you.
So that's our Rise of Skywalker review. Hope you enjoy it. You enjoyed it. If you don't, like, comment, and subscribe. If you do, like, comment, and subscribe. And tune in, hopefully, next week for another video from Nerd Citadel.
Oh, and knowing our schedules and my editing speed, this should be out sometime before New Year's 2021. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.